Welcome back to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, where we love talking about the world of wrestling. But if you've been hanging around with us this summer, you already know our favorite thing is introducing you to the names that won't stay indie for very long.
Every week on the Indie Spotlight series, we sit down with wrestlers who are putting in the miles, earning every opportunity, and proving why independent wrestling is one of the most exciting places in the business right now.
This week's guest is someone we've had our eye on for a while. The first time we saw him in GCW, we knew there was something special here.
He's built from great wrestling roots, having trained under the world famous Cheeseburger, and that training is showing up every time he steps into the ring. Crisp, physical, and always ready to make the most of every opportunity.
And if you've been following independent wrestling, you've probably seen his name popping up all over the place. From GCW to JCW, Power Pro Lucha, Constant Wrestling, HoodSlam, and beyond. He's proven he belongs wherever the bell rings.
Tonight, we're talking about the journey breaking into wrestling, carving out his own identity, traveling the independent scene, and what it's really like chasing the dream one show at a time.
Get into the matches that help shape him, the lessons he's picked up along the way, the goals he's still chasing, and maybe in a few stories you won't hear anywhere else.
So settle in. If you're discovering Sal for the first time tonight, don't be surprised if you find yourself following his career after this episode.
Because this is exactly what the Indie Spotlight is all about, finding tomorrow's stars before everyone else catches on.
Please welcome to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, Sturdy Sal Mistretta.
Thank you guys. That was a really great intro. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's such an honor to have you.
Oh yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. I was excited when you replied to my tweet, so I appreciate you guys having me on.
So, for our fans who might be meeting you for the first time, who is Sturdy Sal Mistretta?
Yeah, so Sturdy Sal Mistretta, kid from New Jersey, Central New Jersey, coming from obviously a football background. My dad was a coach for a long time a high school coach in New Jersey for a very long time. He's actually in the New Jersey Coaches Hall of Fame. So it's kind of been my life since I was born, and kind of also fell in love with wrestling at a young age. And once I was done with football, found a great place to train, as you mentioned, the Worldwide Dojo, and kind of from there, kind of just been a crazy ride from there. So yeah, kind of what you see is who I am. I'm a very energetic person, very outgoing person. Maybe not as much as you would see on the GCW shows, but yeah, I would say that's a pretty good representation of myself. Love sports, love football, love baseball. And yeah, that's kind of who I am and how I kind of came about.
And what convinced you that wrestling was more than just a dream?
Yeah, I think for me, it was getting my start into wrestling was honestly it was something to try out. I like I said, I was done with football and I kind of just wanted something to do outside of just like going to the gym and things like that. And yeah, I needed something kind of competitive, and I've always been a fan of wrestling, so I figured I'd try it out. And then I think once I started doing it and realizing kind of yeah, once I started doing it and training and doing shows, I think I kind of fell in love with it. And that's kind of when it became the dream. Is um, once I kind of fell in love with it in that first year. Um, so yeah, I would say that's kind of when it started. I don't think I went into it thinking it would be this and kind of I would be this far down the line, even though it's only been 3.5 years. But I'm happy that I have and I chose to do this. So yeah.
So, I love Cheeseburger. I think he's so great. What made you choose to train with him at the Worldwide Wrestling Dojo?
Yes, Cheeseburger is awesome. And yeah, I think I was watching Ring of Honor at the time, so I was familiar with Cheeseburger, and that was kind of the promotion that got me back into wrestling. Was Ring of Honor. Um, so yeah, I was familiar with him. And just looking at schools in the area, I kind of was looking at a bunch of places and went to visit one of Cheese's classes, and just the attention to detail and the individual kind of effort that he put into each of his students in that class kind of really convinced me that hey, this is a place that where I could be and where I could grow and, become the best wrestler that, you know, I want to be. So I think, and he's so well versed in so many different styles. He's been to Japan, he's been to Mexico. He's trained under some of the best luchadors, and he's got obviously a very great technical wrestler. So yeah, having all of that to pull from as well was another big factor for me. Being able to learn all those different styles, because I think that kind of differentiates you. Is being able to be versatile in that from that standpoint. So yeah, kind of once I saw the class, I was kind of hooked, and yeah, the rest is history.
Would you say that your football background and, all the practices, two-a-days and everything prepped you for, what's always described as the torturous pro wrestling training?
Yeah. So I think having an athletic background helped to a certain extent. But I think, the difference with wrestling and with like, training for football and doing those, 2-a-day practices or whatever. But the difference with wrestling is, um, all of the strength that you need the most is kind of your body control and your calisthenics. And, as a football player, we go into the weight room and we just try to throw as much weight around as possible on the squat rack or the bench or whatever. So kind of getting adjusted to that and being able to control my body and doing all that, that was definitely a learning curve for me, when I was starting training, because once you start at the Worldwide Dojo, you start on the floor and you're pretty much just doing. You're not in the ring. The first couple weeks, you're just doing body weight exercise circuits, just so he until he feels comfortable with it. Okay, he's got enough control that he can get in the ring, or he or she can get in the ring. So, um, yeah, that was definitely that was a big adjustment, and I think the athletic background when I got in the ring definitely helped. But before that, it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve to change up kind of my strength, my style of strength, I guess I would say.
I feel like body weight exercises are like torture.
Oh, they were. Those circuits were definitely not fun. A lot of burpees, a lot of push-ups, a lot of, all that good stuff. The burpees were the worst, obviously, but
Yes, of course.
yeah, so just, but, without that, I don't think, you could really, like, she's always says, like, that's the most important thing, is being able to control your body. So having that ability is huge in professional wrestling and for your safety and other safety. So, um, and it's definitely, and it's crazy because now I'll do that. I'll do circuits all the time now, just to, kind of keep myself, uh, you know, just like keeping myself tuned up for whatever I got to do. So, I would never think I would be a guy to be doing burpees in a circuit on my own for my own pleasure, but here I am.
Is there something Cheeseburger has said to you that lives in your head rent free?
Um, she says a lot of things that, I've definitely, and, I've really, like, since I've kind of graduated and started working and, traveling with him, I've become really good friends with Cheese. So, there's a lot of stuff that, has definitely stuck with me. I think, um, the thing that most I appreciate is Cheese has always been the guy to kind of calm me down whenever I start freaking out. And, whenever before I was doing the whole football character and everything like that, I was like, I don't have a character. I don't know what I'm doing, whatever, whatever. And he's just always like, it takes time. Like, don't worry, relax. And, how many times I've had that talk with him, and now, he, like you said, it takes time. And, I found something that kind of can hook people in. And now, I'm building on it every day. So, um, I would hate to say he's right, but he was right for that one. So, yeah, that's definitely one example of something, that, um, helps. And I think that's also what makes Cheese such a great trainer is it's not just the in-ring stuff, it's the out of the ring stuff, you know, kind of mindset and, check it in on you, and also, like, what to do when you go to shows and how to act and things like that. I don't know, like, how many schools do teach that and how to get booked and things like that. So, yeah, I think that's also a big factor of why Cheese is such a great trainer and why the Worldwide Dojo is such a great school.
That's awesome. Where did the nickname Sturdy come from?
So this is also a funny story. So, like, some people come into wrestling and they have everything planned out. They got their name, their character, they got everything down to their character's backstory and things like that. I was not that person. As I mentioned, I was like just trying this out, and then I fell in love with it. I never thought I would actually be doing it, and I never had a name or anything like that. So before my debut on his YouTube show, Captured Lightning, we were kind of me, him, and Eli Isom, who is another one of his students from the Ring of Honor dojo. We're kind of brainstorming. And I was like, I don't have a name. And he's like, you could just use your actual name. It sounds good. Just put something in front of it. And then we just started like going down the list of adjectives that start with an S, and someone said sturdy. I don't know if it was me or Eli, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's good," and that's kind of what stuck. And I feel like it describes me well, so it works. You know, um, I think I'm a shorter guy. I'm very compact, I guess I would say. So it works. And that's kind of how the nickname came about. Literally just going down lists of adjectives that started with the S.
We were talking about your name yesterday, and I was like, Sturdy Sal, it totally fits him. Like if we watch you in the ring and we see you, like you're
Yeah.
great, you can move, and like you said, you are a smaller guy and you're compact and sturdy. It just like fits you. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like the wrestling style too, even it all kind of makes sense. So, yeah, just who would have thought that we would have found that? But I think that was also the reason Cheese was like, yeah, use that because I think he understood that like, oh yeah, this kind of fits you. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory of how it goes, and I'm thankful. It's catchy and easy. And I didn't have to change my name. That was good too. So
Definitely. So, how would you describe your in-ring style to somebody that may not have ever seen your matches?
yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, I'm definitely very I think it's definitely evolved a lot. I think when I started, I was definitely a lot more of just a guy that would do like throws and suplexes and things like that, and then I would do a spear in there. I think recently it's definitely evolved a little bit. I still think I kind of am that guy, the kind of more of the powerhouse kind of guy that will throw people around and do things like that. But I think I'm definitely I feel a little bit more like well-rounded than I did a couple of years ago. I think my striking has gotten a lot better, so I could do that now. I think I've gotten a lot more agile and some of the things that like I can do in that standpoint. So yeah, I think I would definitely lean towards powerhouse, but I think I could do a little bit of everything, which is good, which is a good kind of skill to have. Um, so yeah, I would that's what I would say, powerhouse, but kind of can do a little bit of everything, but mostly powerhouse style.
When fans leave one of your matches, what's the one thing you hope they remember about you?
I honestly for me, whenever a fan comes up to me and says, "Oh man, I loved your match," like they were just into it and interacting and you know having a great time. That's what it's all about. And I think people recently have always remembered, oh, that's the guy that comes out with the football and things like that. So that's an easy thing, but um, I do want them to enjoy the match and really do want to see me again. I think is another thing. I think that's the way things go. People want to see you again. People keep bringing you back, and that's kind of how you get those consistent booking. So I would say that's kind of the thing that I try to do the most. I just want everyone to enjoy the match, have fun during the match, and be involved. Also, I think that's another thing where it's like you could kind of control how much involvement you kind of let the fans have, and I think the more the better. Keeping them involved and keeping them engaged is makes them have more fun. So yeah.
You said that for you, you didn't really have like a gimmick or anything when you came into it, but do you feel like at any point your wrestling identity and your style really like clicked for you? I know a lot of wrestlers don't really necessarily feel that way, but is it something that you feel like, yes, this is me, this works, this is who I
Yeah.
am?
Yeah, I think so I'm part of this tag team, the state champs, and that's really where I started doing with David Moses at Power Pro Lucha, and that's really where I started doing the whole kind of football thing. Me and him kind of do it together, dumb idiot jocks that just are happy to be there, excited. Um, so I think that's where it started, and I wasn't doing it in single stuff, and then I was in the car with Jordan Oliver, and he's like, why don't you just do the singles? And I'm like, that makes sense. I don't know why I don't. So I started doing that, and I think, kind of last year when I started doing that, it was like, wow, okay. And I start coming up with ideas. People start coming up for with ideas for me, which is uh people have told me, like, that's when your gimmick's good, is when people are coming up for with ideas for you. So yeah, I think, once I started doing it, the singles as well, yeah, it definitely clicked for me. And I would say that was probably like, or probably, yeah, early this year, like January, is when I really started kind of honing in on that. And yeah, I think um definitely helped with my style and things like that. And I feel like my style is always evolving. Um just because, I'm always trying to find new stuff to do. But yeah, I think with the character for sure, and I think being able to incorporate the character into my style, my wrestling style, has been good. I mean, the 3-point stance and things like that, all the shoulder tackles, the spear. So yeah, I would say definitely that this year I would feel like, um, and I think, it's paid dividends. I think that's kind of where I've seen a lot more success than I did the first couple of years in my career. Is it kind of did start clicking for me, and I don't think it's ever going to be perfect, but we keep evolving as time goes on.
Now, you mentioned about, Cheeseburger teaching you how to get booked and, making trips with, other independent wrestlers. How important would you say networking has been to your career?
But yeah, it's been huge for me. I think, just being able to bounce ideas off some of these people that, you know, have had great success in this industry. Um, and, become friends with them, and, be able to, have them watch my matches, critique me, and give me ideas. That's always big. And then I think also, yeah, like you said, the networking part, where it's like these people that I know now are, um, you know, like Jordan and Alec, like, they're tag champs in GCW. And, I started hanging out with Jordan and Alec a little bit more before the GCW stuff. And, they, would vouch for me and be like, yeah, like, he's a good dude and he's a good wrestler. And, like that, having those guys being able to back me, it helps a ton, just with that sort of thing. So I think, just and that was just from getting in a car with Jordan and, helping driving with him to a show. So it's things like that that go a long way. I mean, even this weekend, like, I went up to Toronto with like Ricky Sosa and Kuro, and I never met them before, but they needed a ride up there, and I was like, yeah, hell yeah. And, it was awesome. And, I made great connections with them. And, it's just there's so many great people that I've met through wrestling that have also helped me out a ton. So, I would say networking is very important. And, um, just being a good person goes a long way. And that's what she's always told me as well. Because you'll find I don't even know if you'll find one person I'll say a bad word about Cheeseburger. So like him just being a good person to people has gotten him so many good opportunities. And, I've kind of taken that same approach. Like, I'm just gonna be a good person, treat everyone with respect, and, what happens happens. And yeah, I've been lucky so far for sure that some of the people I've met have been so helpful to me.
I feel like wrestling, a lot of wrestlers have said that, and I think we feel the same way. Like every time we have a new wrestler on the pod, it's like we're meeting the coolest person ever. And like, you guys are all so awesome and kind and like humble and, especially in an industry where it's like you have to promote yourself and talk yourself up to like really get to meet, wrestlers like yourself. Like it's awesome to see like what genuine and awesome people you guys are. So
Oh, I
cool.
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, like I said, like some of these people I would have never met without wrestling. So that's another thing why I'm so thankful for being a part of this. Like, I've gotten to meet so many cool people just from.
Yeah. So a lot of fans first discovered you through GCW. Like we love GCW. Steve watches every single show and he tweets religiously. I'm sure you've seen him. But
Yeah.
so what does stepping into a GCW ring mean for you?
It means a lot. I think, you know, for me, it's always like, it's the biggest indie in the world. And like, it's they go everywhere. The the roster is awesome. The matches they put on, the shows they put on are always great. And I think for me, like this year was kind of like my goal was to, get on these bigger indies, get on GCW, get on HoodSlam and, start getting myself out there more and being able to travel. And I'm always so thankful for, the people that helped me there and then Brett as well for like, always giving me an opportunity and believing in me when he didn't have to. So like I think it just means so much and it's like always like I feel like, myself, Flying Ryan and Junie, like, we're kind of like the three dojo kids there and we're always trying to represent and give, the dojo a great name and I think, that's also another part of it is, we want to kind of, make the dojo a top school. It's still kind of new since Ring of Honor left. So, making that a top school and being able to give back to Cheese in any way possible, is also another big factor for us. So yeah, I mean, just and some of the names that have just been in GCW, like Cardona was there for so long. You know, Joseph Sawyer's back there now. Janela is, insane. He's one of the best in the world for my money. KJ Orso as well. Like all those guys that are just such great wrestlers, and I'm missing a bunch, but like all those people that are just such great wrestlers and to be in the same locker room as them and compete on the same shows, um, you know, it means to me that I'm doing the right thing and I'm on the right track, and just I got to keep working and keep getting better. And it's motivating to see, I'm in a scramble at the beginning of the show and, I'm watching the rest of the show and seeing the matches these guys are putting on. Like it's motivating for me to want to get better. And I feel like that's the culture the locker room has bred. And it's such a healthy environment back there for sure. So, yeah, it does mean a lot. And it was one of the goals of mine, like I said in the beginning of the year. So that makes it mean a little bit more to me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you liked my tweet and responded to it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I tweet everybody there because I love it. I was just telling Mayor last night, Joey's on my top 3 of, dream guests. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
we'll make it happen one day.
For sure. He's awesome. And he's just a great person too. So it's like, he's a great wrestler, great person. And yeah, that would be awesome. So yeah, I'm pulling for you to get Joey on here for sure.
Absolutely. So, the GCW crowds can be some of the most passionate in wrestling. What's
Mhm.
it like going out there in front of them? Because, we've seen you in the backyard. We've
Yeah.
seen you at all these historic arenas in Atlantic City, and it's just awesome. I can't imagine what it's like walking out of the curtain.
Yeah, I mean, the energy they bring, I mean, like even like, when we get like loaded in for like a scramble or whatever, and we're the first match on the card and they start the GCW chant and Emble's in there screaming, like it's just such a crazy environment. Like I get goosebumps every time. Every time Emble says my name, like I get goosebumps. Like it's just like insane. And yeah, the crowd is always great. I mean, I was in Dallas and Tulsa, those crowds were awesome. AC is always a great crowd. 2300 was a great crowd. Like all those, New Hampshire was a great crowd. Like it's it's everywhere and everywhere. Like if you're in a GC, and I feel like these crowds are kind of like competing against each other. They want to be the best crowd, and it's awesome to see because it's like we feed off that. We feed off that energy, and it makes our job a lot easier when they're so invested and into it, and just want to see some good wrestling. And you know, for us, it makes the job that much easier. But yeah, definitely get goosebumps every time going through the curtain and Emil saying my name, and uh, you know, the crowd kind of the GC dub chants, all that. So yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome experience and something that I don't take for granted whenever I do go out there. So.
I was fortunate enough to be at one GCW show. It was Hartford last summer,
Mhm.
and I was lucky enough to catch a chair from Effie and hand it to Slade. So it
Nice.
was it was wild. It was something I've never experienced, but it was awesome. So
Yeah,
I
that
can't I
Hartford
can't.
crowd's always insane too. So that they're
Yeah.
always insane. I was at that show too. I think I was a security spot. I got beat up by the Cougars. So but
Nice.
when they were beating up Tremont, but yeah, that crowd's always insane too. And that venue is so sick. So like I haven't wrestled there yet because I couldn't make the last one. So next when they go back next year, I'm definitely gonna try to get up there and wrestle on that show because that crowd is always nuts. Absolutely.
That area is kind of like our hometown. We have family that live in Massachusetts and
Hmm.
Enfield, Connecticut. And so anytime GCW comes there, Steve's like, "You think we can get there? Like if we leave in the morning on Saturday, we'll be there by the show."
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
time.
You got to plan it out exactly, and yeah, so yeah, I mean, hopefully when I'm there and that when figured out next year, because I'm assuming they're going back. Hopefully you guys get there, and yeah, we could definitely meet in person. But yeah, for sure that those
Absolutely.
Hartford crowds are no joke.
So you also compete for JCW, Power Pro Lucha, Constant Wrestling, and HoodSlam.
Hmm.
Um, which promotion do you think of all the ones that you're involved with has challenged you the most creatively?
Um, I think I would have to go with I think because it kind of started this whole football thing. The Power Pro Lucha, like that kind of that's where it started, and that's kind of where it was born. So I think, a lot of my ideas and brainstorming of things that could work, I tried there first. Like that's where I'm trying it, and that's where I'm hoping it works. Um, so I think, yeah, for sure. I think I would definitely say that just because, and I think I've been in like long term stories there. So just having to kind of navigate that, which has been great. Like any indie that will give you a long-term story is awesome. Because there's few and far between nowadays. Like I would say, GCW, JCW do it, Power Pro does it. Like there's not many that do it like that. So being able to be a part of that in being part of a story, one of the main stories for the company has been awesome. Definitely challenging and as well, like kind of come up with ideas and kind of make the story work. But the people there are great, and they've helped me a ton too. They have so much experience just from like being in Chikara and doing things there, um like I have Hollow Wicked and people like that to bounce ideas off of, like and Avery Good, Dasher Half, like those people, like they know how to tell a story. So I have a great group of people there too that I could bounce ideas off of. So yeah.
What's something you've learned about professional wrestling that nobody tells you before the start?
I think the thing that I would go with is how important and we kind of touched on this before, like how important like marketing yourself is and kind of like being your own agent, like you're your own agent, like you're your own manager. And being able to navigate, nowadays the social media is crazy, and being able to, put yourself out there to promoters and promotions, and I think that's something like before I started wrestling and training wrestling, I didn't realize how impactful that would be on my career. And it's definitely something that's taken time to learn, and I'm still learning to this day. Things that I could do and tricks I could use. So yeah, I think that's probably the thing that I was most unprepared for, and she's like I said, does a great job of preparing you for that. But before kind of training, yeah, I was not aware of how much work you have to put in on that side of things as well. Just not just in the ring, just the stuff out of the ring and social media and things like that.
I mean, it is such a social media age now. I mean, compared to like what happens in the actual ring, you know, when you weigh the two, social media versus what you're actually doing, like how important is it, to have a social media presence?
I mean, it's so important. I think, you know, people aren't even gonna see what you do in the ring unless like you're putting stuff out on social media. Like you have to get people to want to watch you and want to follow you. And if you're not doing that, like it's it's almost impossible to, have any sort of momentum or anything going for you. Um, I mean, unless you're like unreal and like the best wrestler of all time. But like it's like people aren't gonna, you know, people won't know who you are unless at this point, unless like people get a lot of their info from pro wrestling, from social media and things like that. So like unless you're on one of these bigger shows like a GCW or on TV, like I don't know how you would be able to, promote yourself and get people to care what you're doing, and watch what you're doing in the ring, if you don't kind of have the social media presence. So I think it's very important nowadays to be able to manage that and build that.
It's like
Who would
having a
you?
full-time
Oh,
job. So it's
Yeah.
like you wrestle, you train, you probably have a job outside of this, and
Yep.
then social media, it takes up so much time.
I know, and getting clips and things like that, and trying to figure out best times to post or whatever. You know what I mean? Things like that. It's crazy. It's crazy how the algorithms work and things like that. And I still don't understand any of it, but I try my
Me
best.
either. I
But
just like post at the same time every day because
yeah,
that's the time that I have.
yep, exactly. So, I'm just trying my best, and I've been lucky where some things have kind of, gotten a couple, you know, a good following, a good views, and gotten some followers, and I post things sometimes that yeah, or duds, and I live and I learn. I don't know why. I just keep posting, and hopefully something happens. And I think that's a big thing is just staying consistent with it. I mean, I know that's like a cliche, but like, yeah, it's huge. Like staying consistent and making posts, and and not even just about just wrestling, like just about your life and things like that. Because fans care about that stuff. And fans want to know who you are outside the ring, and what your interests are and what you do. And that's something that I'm trying to do more of because I feel like a lot of my stuff is just all wrestling stuff. But I'm trying to branch out a little bit more and show who I am, and that's how people connect to you. So.
who would you say has brought it the best out of Sturdy Sal inside the squared circle?
No doubt, Speedball Mike Bailey. He is. They are the man. They are the best. They're my favorite wrestler. Um, it was in my second year wrestling. It was one of his shows, and I was the Capture Lightning champion for Cheeseburger's YouTube show, and he had a show there, and all of a sudden there's a graphic of me and him, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And that was kind of the first match where I was like, okay, I could go a little bit. But he's such a genius of putting stuff together. They're such a genius of putting stuff together that it was easy for me. Like I just had to do the stuff and tell him what I do and the way he structured it, the way they structured it and everything like that. Like I said, they're a genius, wrestling genius, and I think that's why they're having so much success right now in AEW. Like they just understand it at a different level, and I've kind of tried to pick their brain as much as possible, and I kind of take a lot of their how they think about wrestling and how they structure their matches. I've started trying to implement that into what I do, and I've definitely seen dividends from it. So I would say it's definitely Speedball. Um, I would say Cheeseburger's up there obviously too because he's my trainer. I've had 3 matches with him, 3-0 undefeated also, so I never lost a Cheeseburger. So I won't be wrestling Cheeseburger ever again unless I'm booked to win. And yeah, there's a bunch I would think. And let's see if I can think of anyone off the top. I think that's a good 2 right there is Speedball and Cheeseburger. But I know I'm missing people, but I'll say definitely those 2.
I just remember whenever I saw a cheeseburger for the first time, I don't know, maybe like 10 or 11 years ago or something, and I think it was in New Japan. Was that right, Steve?
Yeah, New
And
Japan, Ring of Honor.
Mhm.
like he is so outside of the norm of like wrestlers and what they
Mhm.
look like. And I loved him instantly. And I also was always concerned for him, like him and Darby Allin, because
Yeah.
Cheeseburger is so small, So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, they're gonna kill him.
Yeah, I've seen there's the one clip that goes around every once in a while of, Charlie Haas just, like, swinging him around, like, when he was a security guard or something at a Ring of Honor show, and every time I see it, I repost it just to remind him that, this could happen to you again, but, no, yeah, I think that's another factor for me too of, like, why I wanted to train there, like, I'm a shorter guy, like, I'm not, as like that as thin as him, but like I'm a shorter guy. And I think, having someone that m had a TV contract and kinda has as much success as they do with, something like that kinda, not the biggest dude in the world, like, I think that attracted me to the school as well because that's something that, I worried about getting into wrestling for sure. And it hasn't hindered me at all so far. So, yeah.
So, speaking of getting to know you outside of the ring, your fans and everything, who's been your biggest supporter outside of wrestling?
My biggest supporter is definitely my dad. My My dad will go to shows if he can, any show local in New Jersey he tries to get to. He loves it. I mean, he was the one that would like watch with us as a kid, and but he doesn't understand it like that. Like he was just watching it with us. But then when I started doing it, and he started going, I think he's just amazed. I think about like the stuff that we're able to do and put together in the stores we're able to tell, and it's big for him, being able to go to the shows and things like that, and I could tell that he's like proud of me, so it's like it's awesome to have that feeling, and when I see him at a show it's awesome. So I would say, I mean, my mom too, obviously. My mom gets a little more scared. My mom's one of those people that's like has to cover her eyes, like that match with Speedball. I think this whole second half she covered her eyes because I was getting kicked in the face so much. Like she was like this. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, I'm having this crazy match and she's covering her eyes. But yeah, I would say my mom and my dad for sure, but definitely my dad. He'll text me stuff all the time, just like, and he's always wanted to see my matches and things like that. So
That's awesome. As parents ourselves, we know how special that is.
yeah.
Uh, Wrestling can test you mentally and emotionally. What keeps you motivated through those difficult moments and those moments you might not want to go to the gym or you might not want to spend your time on social media?
Yeah, I think um I just yeah, I'm very motivated to be great at this. Like it's very cliche, but when I started doing this, and I want to kind of make my mark in wrestling, and that's kind of what I want to do. Whether it's on the indies or with the company, like contracts somewhere with the company, like I want to make my mark on wrestling, and I want to be great, and I want people to think that of me. Um, so that's definitely a big motivator. And then I see, my friends doing great things. You know what I mean? Like Junie and Ryan and those people doing great things. And I think, I want to be on that ride with them. Like, I love them and I want to be on that ride with them. I'm so happy for their success and I want to be a part of it. So that's another thing that motivates me, to keep going and um, be keep doing what I'm doing and keep, kind of pushing through any kind of like, mental blocks or things that I have is those two things. It's like, kind of my desire to be great. And then, if that's not pushing me, then it's seeing my friends be great and, wanting to be there with them is another thing.
Are you talking about Junie Underwood?
Yes, Junie Underwood. Yep, sorry.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a picture.
Oh yeah, look at him back there.
We saw him at a 814 wrestling show. That's our local promotion where we
Hmm.
live. And he saw the kids. We have a son and a daughter, 9 and 5. And he goes, "Hey guys, do you want a picture? I'll sign it for you." And he just like gave them, so they each have one. I have one of them in here, but he was just like so kind and gentle and
He's the best.
like just a nice guy.
Yeah, he's the best. I just got announced that he's wrestling Leo Rush for Revolver, so that would be awesome for him. And that's another thing. It's like he's having those great matches, and that's like, I want to have that success with him. Like I think they'll tell you the same thing. Is like, we kind of feed off each other a lot of the time, and kind of what we're doing. And I think that's why it works so well because it's like it's not like we're not competing against each other. We just all want to lift each other up and be there together. So
And getting those opportunities in those scramble matches that open the GCW shows, I mean, I almost feel like they have a cult following now because every show they get more amazing, more crazy, more fun. I mean, that's where, I noticed you the first time and,
yeah,
I tweeted you and I was like, man, this guy's got it. Like, I love your, tenacity. I love your intensity. I mean, you give me Dr. Death vibes and I love it. It's awesome.
that's the best thing. That's the best compliment I could ever get. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's kind of like, and I know Brett takes pride in it too. It's like he wants these opening scrambles or multi-man tags. Like he wants them to be bangers. Like and if they're not, he's not gonna be happy. So it's like, he being in that spot is not just like, oh, we're throwing you in a scramble. Like it means something at GCW, and I think that's also why it's such a special place. It's like every match means something. Being put in one of those multi-man matches, like it means something because he expects like a banger out of it. Like, and that's why being chosen for those is not like, oh, I'm just getting thrown in the scramble. Like it's an honor to be like, okay, like he thinks I could produce one of these bangers, and I could be a part of it. So it's a great feeling to have, like, when he trusts you with that and believes in you.
Feel like every match in GCW is a banger. I mean, I don't know how often the death matches are because Steve, he watches the most more than I do.
Hmm.
But like for a while, there was a stretch of like GCW shows that were like all death matches all the time, so
Hmm.
much blood. Like I think but there's like never really a bad match. You're never like bored. You know what I mean? Like there's always
Yeah,
something good to see, and I love that about GCW.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. Those guys, like, I give them the most respect in the world because I could not do that. What they do. I was at Tournament of Survival. I mean, geez, that was some stuff. That was some brutal stuff. All the matches were awesome. Like, that's the thing too. It's like they were all great, and it wasn't just like, there were stories to them, and it wasn't just like, dudes smashing each other with stuff. They really care about the craft of deathmatch wrestling, and that's why they're part of that tournament because they're the best that do it in not even just the country, the world. So yeah, it was really awesome experience. That was the first one I've been to, so I definitely enjoyed being there and watching those guys work. Like, it was great.
Cover my eyes for those matches. I'm
Yeah,
like your mom. I can watch
yeah.
any other match, but death matches, I'm like, Steve will be like, "Wait, look," and I'm like, "No."
No, the one that like sticks with me is like Little Sicko versus Nino Extremo. I don't. They were just insane. I don't even know what the craziest things I've ever seen in my life, but it was awesome. Yeah. So I think Gresham had one, and it was awesome. Like, it was a great tournament, and like I said, it was like they care so much about it and putting on a great show. That I respect the hell out of all those guys.
So, what keeps you grounded as your career continues to grow?
Um, I think for me is like, honestly, I feel like, I don't think you know, I'm not where I want to be yet. So, I think for that, it's just like, I gotta keep the same work ethic that, has been working for me. And I gotta kind of, keep myself grounded and humble. And, I think that that's a big part of it as well is, never kind of getting too big of a head, if stuff starts going crazy for you or going right. Like, you never know. Like, one wrong move, one wrong anything, it's gone. So, just always being grateful for the opportunities that I'm given, but never like taking them for granted or anything like that, or rubbing them in anyone's face or things like that. Just keep your head down and keep going. I think um, that was kind of always my thing with sports too. Is I was that kind of mentality came from my dad. Is like always keep working when you think you're at the top, you gotta keep working. Because even if you're at the top, people are coming to take that spot. So yeah.
Let's hit some rapid fire questions here for you,
Mhm.
Sal. What's your favorite arena or venue that you've wrestled in?
The Power Pro Lucha's home arena, it's the U.S. Squash, like the U.S. National Squash Center in Philadelphia. It's awesome. They got like these big screens in the background. It's really cool. So that's definitely probably my favorite. Also, I did enjoy Gillies in Dallas a lot, so I would say those two.
What's your favorite entrance music of all time? That's not
Ooh.
yours. Any promotion, any wrestler.
Uh, hmm. AJ Styles TNA theme, the Get Ready to Fly. That's definitely my favorite, I think. Probably that one, I would say.
And now his son is using
Demi God,
his
that's another great one. That's
yeah.
a really good one. Um, I would say that wasn't like one that I watched as a kid, so like it didn't like that was when I was more like got back into wrestling. I heard that one, but I was watching TNA as a kid, so the Get Ready to Fly like always is like nostalgic for me. But that's probably a better one, honestly. Is that Demigods? That's a great one.
It's awesome. What's your favorite post-match meal?
Anything. I don't eat before matches because I don't like I can't. I got a weird stomach sometimes, so.
You throw up on your opponent.
No, never. That's my biggest fear. So I don't. Throwing up in a match is my biggest fear. So I try to not eat. Like, I mean, I'll eat like in the morning or something, but I'm not gonna eat like right before. Some people just will eat all throughout the day, not me. So anything, I would go with like pizza, a good burger, anything like that after, because I'm usually starving after.
Steve doesn't even eat before he mows the lawn. He's got the same thing. He's like any sort of physical activity, he does not want to
Oh,
eat beforehand.
yeah, I was the same with like football and everything like that. Like we would have like the pasta dinners on Friday. That's when I would eat. But then the games on Saturday, like I'm not eating anything before the game. I can't. Any physical activity.
As a former offensive lineman, that's how I knew in the summer I would be in shape is when I would have to run that mile
Hmm.
full pads and you had to get it under 10 minutes as an
Yep.
offensive lineman and I would like hurl at the end of it and then bam, I was magically in shape after that. So
That's it. That's all
ever
you need. What? That's the
yeah,
cardio right there. Yep.
yeah, that's the signal.
Yeah.
So you
Now,
mentioned traveling with a lot of, wrestlers like Busta in the Brain, traveling with Ricky Sosa this past weekend. If you could only pick one wrestler to make a town in, who would you pick?
Hmm. I'm gonna pick someone that I don't know, so I don't offend anyone. I'm gonna pick a old school guy. Let's see. Uh, no, I'd pick. I mean, AJ is my favorite. I would pick AJ. I think he's the guy. Yeah, he's my favorite. As corny as it is, just to pick his brain and things like that. And he's hopping up on the indies a lot more now, and people are seeing him out. He's doing the scouting. So, you know, I'm probably won't get to ride with him, but maybe one day I'll get to meet him and talk to him and things like that, pick his brain. But yeah, I think that's who I would choose.
who's the funniest wrestler you've ever shared a locker room with?
I have a couple. I would say I have two. I have Ryan Mooney, who's another Worldwide Dojo guy, former Ring of Honor guy, one of the Cheeseburger students. He's hilarious. Also Andy Brown, he's a Philly guy. Thick Daddy Andy Brown. He's hilarious. One of the funniest people I know. So I would say I would actually, I'm gonna take Ryan Mooney off, and I'm gonna send him this clip of me taking him off and putting Andy Brown on. It's just Andy Brown now. So yeah, I would say Andy Brown.
That's awesome. Are there any promotions or wrestlers that you'd like to link up with?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I would want to love to get on like Beyond, or I feel like the Beyond and Wrestling Open is like, the big one that I haven't done yet in the area. So I would love to do that. And be able to, be a part of that. I mean, matches, I have a big list of matches. Like I think, Gresham, Lee Moriarty, like those are two for me. Manders is another one for me. KJ is another one. Jordan and Alec. There's a bunch that, people that I haven't. I mean, I worked Jordan and Alec before in the backyard match, but singles wise, I think those would be some real fun matches. So yeah, I would say that's kind of what I could think of off the top of my head.
Years from now, where do you see Sturdy Style? That was a tongue twister.
Yeah. Where would I be? Hopefully he's somewhere on TV. If not, I'm hoping, I'm just still growing and, kind of. I mean, I want to, like, as you mentioned, I do have another job. Like the dream is to be able to make a living out of this. So if that's on the indies or, with a contractor, things like that, I'm not picky. So, yeah, I think in 5 years I'll definitely be hoping to be doing that, or at least knocking at the door of doing that.
Do you want to do like a Ring of Honor or a TNA? Those are two promotions you've kind of mentioned tonight. Is that something you'd ever be interested in?
Yeah, for sure. I think, TNA I kind of like grew up on. I would always watch on Thursdays, and Ring of Honor is kind of what got me back into wrestling. So, I think, those are definitely two places I would love to be a part of. Yeah, I think for sure.
I think Steve's the same as you. He was like fell off for a little while and Ring of Honor or TNA really like got him back, right, babe?
Hmm.
Yeah, the Steen, Generico,
Yep.
AJ, that reinvigorated because, when ECW closed, it's like I lost my sweetheart.
Hmm.
And, then Ring of Honor popped up and it's like, yes, this, you know, and just like I'm getting sick of, the end of WWE and then here comes GCW, AEW, and like GCW is like, I'd imagine it's how my son looks at, how I looked at ECW.
Yeah.
And It's just like I love it. I love the weekends. I love, when it's like 3 straight shows. It's like great. I'm not going anywhere. This is what I got planned.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great. And like I feel like, you know, that's something that they kind of go for. They want to be like they always say they're the last outlaws. So, that's something that they're trying to do, and I think they're very successful at it.
If a young wrestler is watching this interview and dreaming of getting into the business, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say just be a sponge, like take in as much knowledge and information as you can from the people that are teaching you. And even the people like the veterans in locker rooms and things that like, you meet for the first time and ask them questions and have stuff to talk to them about. And I think, you'll never know everything in this business. So, getting the most information possible and getting the most knowledge and help possible is really what it's about. And also don't be discouraged. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. Wrestling is not easy. So, just keep working at it and keep trying to get better. And if you're always a little bit better the next day, then you're doing okay.
Finally, so what's next for Sturdy Sal, and where can we find you next?
Yeah. So what's next for me is I will be at homecoming. That homecoming weekend, I'll be there. Not sure if I'll be doing anything, but I'll be there. And at least hanging out. I have the big Power Pro Lucha Trios tournament in the Labor Day weekend. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. Myself, David, and Avery Good, formerly Dasher Hatfield of Chikara, are going to be making a run for it. 16 teams. It's going to be a crazy 3-day tournament. So yeah, definitely check that out. And yeah, Constant Wrestling. I'm in another tournament, the Mike Davis Memorial Tournament on August 22nd. So a couple tournaments coming up, which I've always wanted to do tournaments, so I'm hyped about that. I've only been in one, so I'm excited that I get to do a couple more now. This month coming up.
Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so Sturdy Sal 46 on all socials. That's TikTok, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I would say Sturdy Sal 46 for all of those. And yeah, definitely check me out. I think I'm good, so hopefully you think I'm good. But
We
yeah,
definitely
We
think so.
definitely do.
yeah, there we go. But yeah, so yeah, and just follow along. It's gonna be it's a fun ride already, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Do you have a pro wrestling tees or a TeePublic or a merch store online?
No, unfortunately not yet. I'm gonna be working on that. I do. If you see me at a show, I will have merch with me and shirts and things like that. So if you see me at a show, definitely pop over to the merch and get some stuff, 8x10 stickers, shirts. But yeah, I will. That is something I do need to set up. So I will do that eventually for sure.
We're on a mission to buy a shirt from every wrestler that we interview. Obviously, we have real everyday jobs, so we're chipping away at it one shirt at a time. So
Okay.
next time we can get to one of your shows, we'll definitely get one because
For
we're collected. We both have shirts on today of different wrestlers, or he has our shirt on, I think, right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, see, that's a good collection to have. Like, everyone that you've had on the podcast. That's awesome. So, yeah, I would be definitely get you guys one for sure.
Sal, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We say it every week, but interviews like this are exactly why we started the Indie Spotlight series. It's all about giving independent wrestling the platform it deserves and introducing our audience to the stars they'll be talking about long before the rest of the wrestling world catches up.
We really appreciate you sharing your story from training under the world famous cheeseburger to making waves in GCW and proving you belong on some of the biggest independent stages in the country. The future is definitely bright for Sturdy Sal.
And if you're wondering where you can see Sal next, we've got you covered. Catch him competing in the Mike Davis Memorial Tournament for Constant Wrestling on August 22nd. Then keep your eyes on Power Pro Wrestling over Labor Day weekend, where he'll be part of the Triple Tech Trios Tournament. Those are 2 events you won't want to miss.
Be sure to follow Sal on social media and keep up with everything he's doing. You can find him on Instagram and X at SturdySal46. Show him some love, grab some merch, and if he's wrestling anywhere near you, go support independent wrestling in person. That's how this business continues to grow.
If you enjoyed this conversation, help us keep bringing you interviews like this. Subscribe to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review and share this episode with a wrestling fan in your life who's always looking for that next breakout star.
Don't forget to follow Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling across all of our social media for exclusive clips, live shows, guest announcements, and all the latest from the world of professional wrestling.
We've got plenty more incredible guests coming your way as our Indie Spotlight series rolls on, and trust us, you won't want to miss what's next.
Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Keep supporting independent wrestling, keep chasing your dreams, and remember,
Today's independent standout could be tomorrow's main eventer.
we'll see you next time on the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast.
This is 30 Sal, and you're listening to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast. Woo!